Hey guys, it's Tarkin, and we're here again with wheat. I mean Minecraft. It's always hard to remember the name of the game when you look at a bunch of wheat. And well, this is the place to do it after all. But we're going to put some seeds in a chest, mine a little bit of wheat. I mean farm, you know, it's hard to tell the difference. And then we will just get on with the cycle of life. The important thing in a wheat field is to have dedication, you know, nothing else will get you where you need to go. Where do we want to plant some here? I mean, this isn't ideal. Whatever. These lines are fine. I don't normally plant here. It's just a cosmetic row. Sometimes I think about getting rid of all the golems, you know, but they're important. And, you know, they do annoy me, but that's important too. After all, there are no mobs to break my tiny heart by stepping on my crops, so... just all the golems. I've thought of hitting some of them, you know, repeatedly, until they disappear, but I've not yet done it. Just realized my cam was off, but here we go. Now my face is visible. It's not just wheat anymore, it's just wheat and me. People are saying that I should do this in the hardcore world. That would be funny, but what if something happened to it? Like, what if a creeper blew up? Oh, I'd get so mad. I wouldn't be able to carry nearly as many wheat seeds on account of needing to carry, like, you know, sword and armor. I mean, it would be fun. I should do it. I should start. Not like right now. But, you know, someday. Man, I love this song. That is why I chose it to go first. This is like the most Minecraft of all the Minecraft songs to me. Of course, I've only been playing a year. But it's probably my favorite. I mean, it's like 10 minutes long. I love an epic. But it really... it's got a lot going on. You have the swelling of the strings here. And then when it hits, like, the movement of the piece that we're getting to pretty soon, it's, like, it's real nice. It just totally takes off. And it's just like, oh, now we're supposed to go on an adventure right here. Good stuff. Maybe the best song in the whole world to plant wheat to. There might be a better one. I haven't heard every song in the world. Then I just had a little bit of time this morning, and I figured, what better to do than this? It was either this or play Dead by Daylight. Two very similar choices, and yet rather different at the same time. But I kind of wanted to just chill this morning. Hello, Super Dean. Cheese? You can't even make cheese in Minecraft. I don't think, anyway. But good morning. We're just doing some wheat. Just planting some wheat. My favorite thing is daydreaming about how people feel the first time they see the field when they haven't seen it before. Preferably after being told by me I have a lot of wheat. Yeah, we'll do like one more round of planting. The villager was dying over there. Oh, you know, maybe. They'll be fine. If you think about it, that villager was probably stepping on my weave. Oh, they were spinning? Ah. Yeah, they do that sometimes. They'll get better. Getting followed by a villager? Yeah, but they can't go where we're going. Bonk. It's like, excuse me, I've been trying to reach you about your cat's extended warranty. I'd be like, it's okay, she has like 19 lives left. She's more resilient than the average cat. He won't have anything of it. We're gonna leave him in the dust here, though. Well, in the wheat. Go back over this way, do a couple more lines of wheat seeds. Atropa, yeah, we've got Atropa Bella and a cat called Electo in this world, although they don't have name tags on. So I wouldn't, you know, at that point it wasn't terribly important to me. But yeah, the Garuda doesn't live in this world, it's just the cats. But this isn't like my house, it's just like, it's where my house is now. My real house is over there by spawn, but we never go there. But yeah, the cats sit around here. We've got our little vaporwave carpets and our picture of Marcus Aurelius on the wall. And yeah, and this is our little brick farmhouse that looks like a little excited Kirby when the doors are opened. Here's some random boxes with random junk in it, proving that I built this whole world myself. And really, you know, you get the hay into bales and then you throw it random places, and then before you know it, you've got, like, you know, a whole bunch of it somewhere. Think I might have to remove the farmer villagers? No, you know. The village was here before I was. And actually, when I did the Java to Bedrock conversion, every entity that had been previously loaded was wiped from the map. So my previous cats were gone. The villagers of this whole village were gone. And then I gradually, like, because I had my render distance down, over on the, where I'm looking over in that direction where the beetroot and those golems are, there were a couple of structures that didn't render in because I hadn't been to that chunk yet. Like right over here. You can see this house, because how it's like half cobblestone, yeah. It only generated this half of the house, and then I just built the rest of it around it. And then there were a couple that lived up there, and from there we built all of these little dormitory things, and then kept on moving over here until we could induce them. You know, we built a little thing until they finally bound to some beds over here. So we spent like a lot of effort getting them to repopulate this area. Because I was, you know, quite upset about the damage that the world conversion had done to everything. This is before all the wheat, of course. I want to say when the world was converted, there was basically no wheat at all. It was a long time ago. And I didn't really understand, you know, what was possible, what was reasonable, what was awesome in those days. You know, I had to learn the way of wheat. But I think I know a little bit about it now. And for so much of the field, I didn't even have fortune. So it's like... what really would have helped in the early days of the field. But, you know, it's been a learning experience. What have I learned? Well, I mean, wheat? Wheat. I would say that's what we've learned. We need to get some iron so that we can make some buckets so that we can fix our little waterfall there. Often, if you have no wheat at all in the area, so there's no risk of corruption of your beauty, you can use buckets at the top of a slope like that to knock down all or most of the grasses that'll be along the way, because otherwise it can be a little annoying. Say you're watching this and playing something? Cool, what are you playing? mobile sniper game? Ah, cool. Well, may your enemies, you know, suffer the talented headshot of your fury, or whatever it is you say to snipers. Break a leg? I believe that's actors. I was looking back at like some of the first, like my Steam library history, right? Because I remember when I got Steam, and it was right around whenever I started my YouTube channel, actually. And I was just looking, I'm like, oh, that's funny, you know, I was gonna play Dark Souls, and then I got Mount & Blade Warband, and I played that instead. And then I'm like, wait, one of the first games I ever bought was Sniper Elite. Like, was it free? Did I buy it for like $3 and think I'll probably play this, and it's $3, and then I got a different game? Because like when I got into Warband, I got so into it. It was essentially the only game I played for a long time, and it was the only game I played on YouTube at all. No, I was also playing like this zombie game sometimes called State of Decay, which there's been a sequel, and I believe they're making a third one too, to State of Decay. But I own the second one. I was gonna play it, but it wanted me to sign up for an account, and I hate filling out forms, dude. I just hate it so much. It's a whole thing. I don't like it at all. It'll ruin like a whole week for me if I have to fill out a form. If that sounds strange and crazy, well, welcome. Welcome! Welcome to my world, where I can't fill out forms, but I can plant wheat. Yeah, this is a better choice. It's either this or Dead by Daylight. And that just would have been, you know, tense and angry sounds, screams. I like Dead by Daylight. There's just like a bunch of stuff in the sound design that I don't enjoy. It's all very important, but I have problems with repetitive sounds, especially when they are certain sorts of them. It's just pathetic how few seeds you get from actually clearing land. I mean, even with Fortune, you could clear this whole thing and get like a couple hundred. That's barely 3 lines of wheat. Hey, Natasha. Welcome. I just want to catch you up really quick on the stream. We've been planting wheat. All right, you're up to date. Good morning. Here, wheat surrounded by sand. Technically, the wheat is supposed to, like, move from the other wheat, but that'll be a nice place to run into eventually. Oh, when I start doing this in hardcore, it's going to be great. It's going to make good content, as they say. Like, the first time that a creeper blows up some wheat and I just lose my freaking mind, people are going to love that. People like it when I get mad. Not really. Maybe on the internet they do. It never feels like a game in real life. But I think, you know, surely I'm not the first person to observe this, but I think maybe that's why we get a lot of bad behavior out of internet people, is because they're, like, rewarded for behaving badly on the internet, and then sometimes they go out into the real world. And then they have, like, a drama rise and fall video made about them. It's the circle of life. But I'm not really on that part of the internet much. I'm more on the, this guy takes apart a lock and insults the lock and the lock maker for 3 minutes. That's my kind of YouTube. He's called the Lockpicking Lawyer. He's not obscure. It's like a major channel. He's probably the most famous of the lockpicking people. He's awesome. Anyway. That's my kind of stuff. I recommend him, you know. He doesn't know who I am. I'm just a fan. His channel is so fun that several times I considered, like, spending some money to learn how to lockpick, and then I was like, and then I can put all of the stuff in a drawer and never look at it again. That's my favorite part, is imagining how an interest will be, you know, turned into an albatross with time. I usually do pretty good about not buying a lockpicking set. Sometimes I'll watch a video and I'll be like, why shouldn't I do that? And I think, like, this is what makes, like, more impulsive people, like, buy a jet ski. They're like, oh man, that looks great, I should buy a jet ski. Not me, though. Do they have people that live on jet skis? Like the equivalent of like tiny houses or vans, you know, so there's houseboats, but then there's just like a dude living on like a jet ski out there. He's got like a little trailer for his fishing nets. I'm sure this wouldn't work for a million reasons, but it's funny to think of anyway. I wish I knew stuff about boats. Lockpick is kind of easy when you understand it, but you never use it for nothing. Well, you know, sometimes the skill is like that, but if you ever have like a Skyrim Oblivion type situation go in, and someone's like, Natasha, I have a task. I'm gonna need you to go to a local crypt and find this MacGuffin. And, you'll be like, all right, well, I'm going to need my tools. They're like, no, we're way ahead of you. Here's everything you'll need. They hand you 3 lockpicks and a steel dagger. But you're already ready, you know, because you got the expert lockpicking. Video game expert, you know. Just be ready for the ghoul. There's always a ghoul in these situations. They can't ever send you to go get a MacGuffin at a place without zombies in it. But speaking of, like, games that I got long ago, so I was looking at the list, I was like, oh, Chivalry, that's right. I'm like, oh, right, it was like a multiplayer, like, game, and I quit so quickly. Oh, it was the most miserable experience. It looked like everybody else was doing kung fu, and I was just walking around and getting totally murdered. Yeah. It's in my hidden games section of the library, which is reserved for stuff that's, like, totally trash. Or that makes me mad and I don't want to see it. I'm sure it was a cool game. If I had played it, like, when it came out, you know, I think it was probably one of those things. Because this would have been, like, years after it had been released. But I remember looking at, like, the reviews and the trailers and stuff and thinking, oh, this is going to be so cool. I'm going to go in there. I'm going to get, like, a sword. And we're going to have, like, sword fights. And it wasn't like that at all. It was like if I had picked up a real-life sword and gotten into a real-life sword fight with somebody who already knew how to use a real-life sword. It was not at all fun like a video game. But that's the multiplayer experience, right? If you don't get it at the beginning, eventually the average skill level will rise to the point where new players are discouraged. There might have been something for, like, new players to play on, but I only played a few matches, and I was just like, this is a waste of my time. Should have tried to get it refunded, but it wasn't like, you know, there wasn't anything wrong with the game. I just wasn't good enough at it to have any fun. Which can happen. There's this, sort of, I don't know how to describe it, gladiatorial combat game called For Honor that made a pretty big splash. Oh, it must have been, what, like 8 years ago? 8.5? Something like that. I remember my brother was playing it when it was new, and I was like, oh, this is sweet, and I, like, picked up the controller and played a couple matches, and it was so fun. And then, like, 6 months later, I was at his house, and he was, you know, like, taking a shower or something, and I was just like, hey, why don't I'll just pick up this For Honor game and give that a spin. I had fun playing that the last time I was here. And it was the worst time of my life. I just got murdered over and over and over and over again. And I never could, like, land anything on anyone. It didn't even feel like I was playing the same game. But, you know, that's just how it goes. I'm sure that's how it felt whenever other people back in the day played me at, like, Mario Kart or Halo. So funny little aside, there's a guy over at our house to do, like, a tradesman's job. You know, one of those things. I'm not going to say which, so you don't know who I'm talking about. But you know, he was over to do some stuff, and it turned out that you know, me and my brother, we knew him, you know, growing up and stuff. And we were just chatting about things, and he saw the N64 on the table, and he was like, oh, yeah, you know, that's so cool, man, blah, blah, we're talking about it. And I was like, yeah, you know, talked about how I had been inspired to get another one from speedrunning things, and how I wasn't very good at GoldenEye. And he was like, I remember you being really good at Halo, though. And I was like, yes, you know just how to make me feel flattered. Because I do remember not playing him at Halo, it wouldn't have made an impression. But I played a lot of people at Halo, and I won. There eventually reached a point in my Halo 1 career where, like, I would look at the person's tag if I didn't know them, and if I didn't recognize it as being, like, a real person, then I just knew they weren't going to beat me. I would be at like people's houses, and I would play people that were like strangers who said they were good, and just like absolutely smoke them. You know, like 25 to 1 all the time, that kind of thing. It was brutal. But me and my friends, we lived and breathed Halo back then. That was our bread and butter. That was the sauce for the pasta. That was the water. That was everything to us. It's all we cared about until there was a new season of Diablo 2. So, there's actually been a couple new, humorous times in my life where a person that I knew long ago comes up to me and it's like, "Hey, I remember you being really good at Halo," and just cracking me up. It's like once I was out at this like a bar trivia thing. This was ages ago, back when I still drank, and the woman I was seeing, you know, she had heard me talk about being good at Halo all the time. You know how people can be about their past accomplishments, you know. I'm like, "No, you don't get it. I was really good," you know, that kind of thing. And then out of nowhere, dude comes up and he went to college with me and my friends. I didn't graduate, but I did go, you know. And he like sits down. He had went to high school with the woman I was seeing, and then he immediately starts like explaining to her that me and my friends are like the finest Halo players that he's ever seen in his whole life, and how we were better than everyone else, and how we wiped the floor with everyone at the college, and like really like going into it, you know, because he was feeling himself. He was having a good time, and it was just super funny. So, like, afterward, you know, he excuses himself, goes to hang out with his friends, and she just, like, turns over, looks at me, she's like, "Is this gonna happen everywhere we go?" I'm like, "No, I don't think so. I'm not that famous." No. Sometimes I wonder, like, if Halo 1 had proper online connectivity and, like, a much more robust tournament scene like 2 did, and me and my friends had been like 2 years older, how it would have worked. Because a lot of like our highest era was when we were like, you know, 16 and 17-year-olds, and our parents just wouldn't let us travel, you know, to Illinois or Ohio to do a tournament, so we didn't get to really see how we stacked up. But, you know, we won everything local, basically. Sometimes we got second because there was a pro team from down the road a little bit, but I mean, we beat them sometimes. We just didn't always beat them. But I kind of miss that sometimes, like the joy of just like being objectively better than other people. You know, you play a game and you have a score at the end. You know, it's probably why some people like basketball and I don't, because I'm bad at basketball. You know, maybe if I had been really awesome at more sports, then I would have liked him better. No, that's not fair. I was pretty good at sports as a child, and I still didn't like them. I remember in T-ball, which is like baseball, but you hit it off of like a little rubber tee. It's like for like, you know, 5-year-olds or whatever. My team got second, and I remember we got a trophy, and I was like just disgusted. I'm like, "We lost," and they're like, "Yeah, but you know, second place gets a trophy because you're good." I'm like, "No, we just lost. I don't want this. I'll accept the cake. Everybody gets cake, you know. You still get cake if you lose, but you shouldn't get a trophy." I mean, like, I already knew they gave you one at the Olympics or whatever, but this was just baseball. This wasn't the Olympics. I was like, "No, we should go home and think about all the mistakes we made." I didn't make any. I played well that game. I was a dedicated 5-year-old. because I like, like grew up pushing goats around and hauling hay bales and 5-gallon buckets of water and stuff, I was much stronger than most of the children my age, which gave me an advantage in those sports. But then, of course, like, whenever people started exercising and working out, I didn't have any of my natural advantages over my lazy city peers. Like, go to the gym? I had to mow the yard for 6 hours. But I never wanted to be an athlete. I mean, that's not true. Like, whenever I was, like, a small child, I was like, I loved football so much. American football. And I was very interested in it. And I wanted to be, like, a football coach. And my... like, vaguely. Like, if being a lawyer didn't work out, my daydream was being a football coach. And my dad was like, you'll have to play football first, and then I didn't want to. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't like. I liked watching football and thinking about football. Super Dean, you said you forgot you were here? Well, I forgot I was here too. Sometimes that can happen. How to Disappear Completely and Never Be Found Again by Radiohead. That's not the name of this song, it's just the name of a song that could apply, and I felt I would relate it now. It's on Kid A, isn't it? I think so. I love Radiohead. Good band, great band, marvelous band. Because I'm very much in, like, the punk rock indie music scene. What people sometimes think that I'll have, like, their opinions about other music. And I'm hanging out with one of my friends. He's like, oh, I just hate Radiohead. I'm like, I love Radiohead. And I just give him this speech about how awesome Radiohead is. He's like, whatever. I'm like, you just don't even know. You think that one song that other people like is bad, and it is, so you think the band is bad. But that's fine. I've been wrong about stuff before. I've been wrong about stuff, like, all the time. That's why I try to do this channel in the style that I do. Sometimes people have been like, do you avoid talking about current events because you're worried about, like, offending people or whatever? But it's like, no, it's like, I just don't want to be, like, super wrong about something. Like, I've been so wrong about so many things in my life, and one of the good things about those times that I was wrong... by Super Dean. One of the good things about those times that I was wrong is that I didn't, like, have a record of me thinking it, Or if I did, it was, like, smaller. So I've, like, been mean and cruel and philosophically small-minded and just stupid and analytically bereft of value. Like, just really, really contemptuous of the whole, like, intellectual and philosophical project. And that's why I want to avoid giving my opinions on things that matter, because I'm really bad at it, and I am not so dispossessed of my own memory that I have forgotten how wrong I've been. I often wonder what it's like for people who are wrong all the time and they just, like, don't notice it. They just, like, carry on. But, of course, one thing about not being introspective is that you can give people the impression that you're very confident. It's, The line in Braveheart is, uncompromising men are easy to admire, but it's the ability to compromise that makes a man noble. Of course, that line is said by a guy who's, a villain, but it's still a good line, especially the first part. uncompromising men are easy to admire, because that is like a set in stone, very, very solid observation about human nature. People like someone who doesn't have nuance, if they agree with them. Obviously, they won't like them if they don't agree. But they don't want to hear someone saying, oh, actually, it's complex. Oh, this will be complicated. They want someone to say, this is easy. I can tell you the answer. This is what's wrong. I know what ails you. This is why the movie you don't like is bad. This is why games are bad. This is why, you know, your old friends won't talk to you anymore, or whatever. But really, all of those things are much more complicated than they usually appear to be. But telling people that is boring, right? Like, they want the punchiness. They want the red meat is the idiom in America. I don't know if they use it internationally. But my, because I go to sleep watching, like, Total War Warhammer videos by Turin basically every night, which is pretty funny. He talks about it sometimes on stream, like how people will tell him that, and he's like, I can't, it's like so weird that people are just like going to sleep listening to his voice. But that's like what I do. That's what I go to bed to. Is I just pull up some stream that I've already seen and throw it on, because, you know, on like really low, and then just like drift off. And where was I going with that? Ah, yes, the autoplay. But it'll send me just strange places sometimes. Then I'll look at, like, my YouTube video dashboard. I'm like, wait, I don't want to see any of this stuff. What has this poisonous algorithm been trying to feed me while I slept? Because I guess a bunch of other people that watch real-time strategy are scumbags. Whatever. It's not really my audience, so I don't really have to have an opinion about it. But it's just like, man, all the time, like, I'll wake up and it's some Warhammer video from someone I've never heard of being the most awful and edgy person ever, and that's like not my jam. I'm not 13. And I don't wish I was. That was a terrible time. They wouldn't let me drop out of school, even though I never learned anything. I'd been trying to drop out of school since I was like 5, right? But they never let me. You need to learn how to get along with people your age, they would say to me. It's a good joke. My parents like their little jokes. Good stuff. Oh, yeah. We call Jerry, your college is really something about interclass. Intramural, they call it here. Yeah, for sure. You're the best at the Brazil dodgeball? Nice! Yeah, that's awesome. I was never that good at any sports or athletic thing. I was like a strong swimmer, but like not for speed, just like for distance. I can swim like real far. But I have like zero fear, like none at all for the water. And, like, I'm afraid of, like, the swamp. I'm afraid of, like, you know, the Everglades. And I'm afraid of the bayou and stuff. But I'm not, like, afraid of the ocean. The sharks don't care about me. Is you who gets 7 other people at the end? Oh no. Everyone cheered so much, but you were mad no one helped you, but they were happy. Well, you know. At least you had your talent, right? Plenty of people out there couldn't even throw a ball. Have you ever seen the film Dodgeball? It was a big deal with Ben Stiller and all that. If you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. But I imagine, as a dodgeball player, you would certainly be familiar. But they didn't do this whenever I was in high school, but just a couple years after I was gone, they had, like, just, like, an internal, like, dodgeball tournament where, you know, people and their friends could make teams and compete against other people and their friends. My brother was on 2 different teams. But, you know, like, it can be really satisfying, you know, to have the thrill of competition and the joy of victory. But I found that winning never felt as good as I wanted it to. And losing always felt pretty bad. It's like how I feel about Magic the Gathering. It's basically how I grow to feel about any competitive pursuit. You know, it's... Yeah, we can river that as well. Probably, yeah, right there. Just cut that down and it's almost all done already. Well, I wish so much that I could sit around and plant wheat all day. I hope you know that I am being honest when I say that. But, unfortunately, I've got to get on with my day. So that's just what I'll do. Until next time. Bye, Natasha. Thanks for hanging out. Cool, we got to learn a little bit of your lore with your Master for Dodgeball skills. And, sorry nobody helped you out in your game there at the end. But you know, that's what you get for being better than everyone. But that's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you've enjoyed. I'm off for some time. I might be back in a few hours, but more likely it'll be, you know, like 12 or so. But anyway, perhaps I'll see you then. Later.